Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with some snack habits. Bye. Bye. Let's get straight to the intro. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure that you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate all the support. I'm very humbled by it. So burn this bitch down. Hey, what they say, what Pac say? Well, burn down this bitch if you get us pissed, right? The cartel is upset. Mexico is on fire. Several establishments have been burnt to the ground and continue to burn as we speak, as far as Jalisco all the way to Tijuana. Yes, I'm saying it right here in TJ. There's also been several gunshots fired and several establishments are burning. All Mexico is on fire. And why? Because one man's name, who shouldn't even be mentioned on the internet, is being mentioned all over the place because of his alleged demise. Now, if you guys have watched my channel for several years, you know that I speak very minimally when it comes to the cartel in Mexico, any of the cartels. And that's just based upon safety, security, and precautions. You know, that is an organization, a group, groups of men that definitely are not to be played with, are not to be disrespected on any level. And if you play with them, you're playing with fire. And right now, Mexico is on fire because it's been alleged that El Mencho, which is the Rey de Mexico, okay? Basically, El Gallo de Reyes, right? The king of the roosters has been killed. Okay, now, about 2 weeks ago, I stumbled across a podcast where they were talking about El Mencho. And they were talking about this guy, not in a disrespectful manner, but in a point-blank manner, and talking about how he has controlled the drug trade in Mexico for decades. How he has built one of the biggest cartels, ever on planet Earth. And, I'm very interested in knowing the history of Mexico, learning about my culture, learning about what's going down there, what poverty the people are going through, what oppression the people are going through, and kind of, just learning the history and the origins of where I come from. And at the same time, Mencho's name gets mentioned a lot when it comes to Mexico. So I obviously took from that he was a big player in the game out there, and someone whose name was even mentioned, there was definitely some repercussions for that action. There's been several podcasters, newscasters, people who have disrespected his name in the past, who are no longer living, who are no longer here. Now, you can't basically say Mencho is the reasoning behind that. But, quietly as it's kept, reading in between the lines, you could kind of know that, if you disrespect that individual's name or anyone surrounding him, you come up short. That's pretty much what it is. Also in this podcast, they were talking about how there was a joint operation between the United States and the Mexican government, and that they actually had Mencho, under surveillance, that they knew where he was, that they were actually going to do a joint operation to go in and eradicate his cartel and him, because he's been on the run with $1 million reward for years. And at the very last moment, according to what this podcast was saying, someone in the government on the Mexico side decided to tip him off and alerted him by flying a helicopter over the compound he was allegedly holed up in, and he was able to escape that. Now, 2 to 3 weeks later, even a month later, it has been put out there by Mexican government officials that they did do an operation and that Mencho was allegedly killed during this operation. Now, subsequently, since this happened, you would think one person's gone. Good riddance is what a lot of people would say. Civilians, people out there that are against what the cartel does in Mexico, that feel they are being held hostage by some of these tactics that the cartel uses, you would think that they would be happy Kind of like in Venezuela when Maduro was captured, there was a lot of people that took to the streets that were happy about it. Now, there was a lot of people, especially people in America, that felt that right there, even though that guy was alleged to be not the greatest of persons, and especially to what he was doing to his own people, a lot of people felt America had no right to go over there and snatch up a president from another country, right? Look, there's more than politics involved here. We're talking about the safety and security of people. We're talking about people who live their daily lives on them streets that are controlled by these organizations, these groups, or these governments. Okay, so at the end of the day, we could sit here and do podcasts and talk about it and do videos and give our perspectives. But unless we're living under the gun, then we don't know. That's kind of like people that talk about prison that have never been there or have never functioned on certain yards. You cannot talk about it unless you've lived under that tower and under that gun. You could speculate, you could put out a perspective, an idea, but it's always going to be just an idea formulated from mind. It's never going to be an idea formulated from knowing, from having understood and been there, right? So there's a lot of people that feel a certain way about Mencho or other people. And, you know, unless you've lived it, you can't call it like an alcoholic. It just is what it is. Now, with Mencho being allegedly killed, that has set off something that is different than I've ever seen. It has set off basically guerra, a war between his cartel and the government and everywhere. I mean, they're lighting gas stations on fire, burning planes down, lighting local businesses on fire. There's literally war in the streets, gunshots being fired to the point where people cannot even come outside of their houses. They're scared. And this is a big deal for Mexico because this goes to show you just how strong the cartels are and just what point they will take it to if you overstep and get involved in their business. Now, best believe El Mencho, just like Chapo and other alleged cartel leaders, we use alleged real big here on my channel because you got to understand this. A lot of these titles and names that are put on these men are put on by other people. You know, it's easy to call someone something, you know, without facts or just without knowing. Excuse me. And when it comes to El Mencho, yes, his name's been mentioned in a lot of things. Yes, he's been for years considered, you know, one of the leadership, or if not the supreme leader of one cartel, right? But at the same time, you know, everything said is alleged because you never know, man. There's bigger entities behind everything, okay, that I won't speak on. You know, the United States, at this point, it's alleged by the administration that a focus of his is to go after cartel, to eradicate the bringing in of drugs to the United States that have been brought in for years, that have been funded by the United States for years. It's just facts. I think it's not even common sense at this point. It's all on paperwork, right? Now, Mencho, having been one of the biggest distributors of certain drugs, allegedly, you know, to capture him, to jail him was, of course, on everybody's agenda. The Mexican government, the Mexican police, authorities, and of course, the United States as well. And together, or even just by themselves, they decided enough was enough and they were going to combat by going in and grabbing this guy by any means necessary. Now, of course, when they went in to get him, he's not going to go out like that. I don't think any of these guys that think that you're going to take them out are going to allow that without a fight. And there was a big gunfight. And during this, man, Mencho was allegedly killed. Now, there's already people on the internet saying he wasn't really killed. The United States was involved. They got him out of there. People got him out of there. But it's been reported by the government that he was. And the way that the cartels are acting right now, you would think there's a lot of truth to it, right? They're upset. Their leadership has been basically killed. And they're feeling some type of way. So what do they do in retaliation? They decide to burn this bitch down if you get them pissed. They decide to throw on a Tupac song and run with it, right? And so the outcry for the people is crazy. But now what you have is a situation where the people, the regular civilians, the people of Mexico, are rising up in retaliation. So now you have what it looks like is the cartels. And this is one particular cartel. And of course, man, there's a lot of cartels in Mexico, and not all of them see eye to eye. Some of them work together, to further their movement, to further what they got going on, their business. I don't speak on their business. I think we all know what their business is without having to say it. But at the same time, the people who feel persecuted in their lands, who feel that, it's crazy when people are being beheaded and people are being killed for whatever reasoning. And most of the people that are hurt are not innocent civilians. Innocent civilians have been hurt in the past, but it's not a situation where these guys are going out there targeting innocent civilians. They are targeting the life. Just like here in the United States within gangs, unfortunately, if you're a gang member, if you disrespect people, if you're out there living that criminal lifestyle, you and anyone who's around you can get caught up in a situation. And unfortunately, a lot of the times it's your family, your friends, people that are not even involved and don't even know what's going on are the ones catching the bullets right beside you, just because of what type of drama you brought home. That's why you need to realize and recognize anything you do will affect all those around you. So at the same time, civilians have been feeling this for years. And now they're seeing it as a perfect opportunity to rise up against these cartels. But these cartels are not going out like that. They are upset. They are demanding some type of retribution for what happened to El Mencho allegedly. And like I said, they're trying to burn Mexico down. Now, what's going to happen? You're eventually going to see a situation where civilians who are targeted or civilians who feel persecuted because they cannot come out of their homes, because bullets are flying, because buildings are being burned down all around them, homes are being burned down, local businesses, that they're going to side with the government, and it's going to be an all-out war. Now, it's for the most part, if you've ever been to Mexico, you need to understand this. When it comes to the government officials, the feds, they are definitely thick in Mexico and do walk around, and they are noticed. When I was in Juarez, Mexico, I noticed them, right? They were everywhere. The feds were there. They had their machine guns. They were driving around in Jeeps. They were all out through Centro, all right there in Anapra. They were everywhere, okay? Now, the local police were not the ones I had to worry about. I was on the run, and I realized, me and my homeboy, after he ran me down with the game, gave me the knowledge I couldn't get in college, that we didn't have to really worry about the local police. They were easily bought off. They were easily in pocket. They easily knew what was going on and were petrified and terrified of cartel members. Let me explain to you something, right? When I went to Juarez, Mexico, I didn't know shit. I was at my grandfather's pad with a few homeboys on the run. Didn't really know the get down in Mexico. Was gang banged out at that time. Lled out, right? Obviously, man. So my mind wasn't straight. I was on the run. I was just trying to have as much fun and stack up as much money as I possibly could before I got incarcerated. And really wasn't trying to care about other people's situations or politics or what they had going on. That quickly changed on day one. Okay, that quickly changed with my first interaction ever of a cartel member legitimately, right? When they pulled up on us and they let us know that we were not welcome, and if we were welcome, it was only for a little while. And then we had to get on fucking down the road because they did not know our program and why we were there. We ran them down. They took it with a grain of salt and told us, you guys got this much time. If not, we will kill you. From that point on, it wasn't a regular visit. It wasn't regular being on the run. It was, now I have to worry about the authorities and these guys who basically control this area, right? And at that time, that was the Juarez cartel, and they were no joke, man. There was a lot of beheadings going on. There was a lot of, that was right around the time that they had went into a school and looking for one of their enemy's child to kidnap, and they pretty much decimated the whole school. It was crazy times, right? So there was a lot of feds out there. And when I say feds, I mean from the Mexico side, right? And then there was the local police. And so what happens is my homeboy's hooked up with the chick. We're doing our thing. We end up getting pulled over. And I'll never forget this day. It will always stick with me because it was crazy. I've never experienced something like this. Now, prior to that day, we'd been pulled over like a week before. And I remember the cop pulls us over. He's on a bike. He rides up real fast on his fucking bike, pulls us over. First thing he asks is guns or drugs in the car. No, right? The guy who's driving this van that we're in, he's a paisa dude. He's probably about 30 beers in. We're swerving everywhere. What an idiot I was to be driving with them. But at that time, I'm on the run. I don't care, right? He's about 30 beers in. He has a case of beer sitting right next to him. And the cop says, how many have you had? He said, I don't know, about 30. Fuck, right? The cop didn't even trip off that. You know, he just fucking wanted to know if there was any money in that car and who could cash him out. My homeboy got off the car, cashed him out, gave him $70. We were gone with the 30 beers in the car. Let's go, right? That's how real that was. That let me know that there was some extracurricular shit going on within the police, the local police. Fast forward to a couple weeks later, we get pulled over. And I'm stressing like a Smith & Wesson because I ain't got no money on me. I'm broke. The homeboy's broke. We've been broke, right? We're thinking about going back to California, getting the fuck up out of there just because we were broke and we had exhausted our resources. The chick that I was with, she wasn't sending me no more money. Nobody was looking out for us. My grandfather was already looking at us cockeyed and shit, right? It was a point where we're going to have to get out of there. And this cop came up to the car. Now, you got to understand at this time, okay, the other homeboy that I'm chilling with right there, his chick, her father was allegedly involved in the cartel, right? This is what they were telling us. I didn't know to what degree, right? He was supposed to be in a leadership capacity out there. What is cool, right? So we get pulled over. She's not even tripping. As soon as we get pulled over, she picks up her phone and starts dialing it, right? Calling one of her tios, her uncles. And this cop walks up all swaggered out. And he's like, hey, license, is there armas drogas? Like, is there guns and drugs in the car? And she's like, whatever. She ain't trying to hear him. She's on the phone with her tio. She tries to hand the cop the phone. She said, here, my tio wants to talk to you. He's like, bitch, you're tripping, right? Like, hey, I'm asking you for your license or whatever. And she's like, man, fuck you. Take that phone. He's like, nah. She's like, you might want to take that. He took it. And in my mind, I'll never forget this. I seen the cop's white face go white and he started shaking, literally tears in his eyes, begging and pleading and apologizing to whoever was on that phone, which was allegedly one of her tios, her uncles, right? And handed her that phone and said, nobody will bother you guys all day. Don't worry about it. Just go. And you can see he was visibly shaken. I looked at her and I knew at that moment exactly who he was talking to and exactly what it is. So it's real out there in Mexico. That was my interactions. That let me know I had to go, right? That let me know. And there was another incident that took place. I've talked about it, where there's a newspaper that comes out in Juarez every day, man. It talks about all the killings from the night before. And this guy we were associating with, he was following that same chick around in Central while her and her prima were shopping. She felt some way about it, felt uncomfortable. She called us. We came on the ruta, which is the bus, to go pick her up because we was broke like a mother, but we didn't even have a car, right? We came on the ruta to go pick her up. By the time we got there, she was eating ice cream. Like, I ain't even tripping. It's all taken care of. And we're like, what do you mean? And she was like, it's fine, right? Next day, we opened the newspaper and it was all taken care of. Okay, and I'm not going to say more than that. It just was a trip out there in Mexico. It's real life. So I can understand what the people are living and what the people are going through. Now you got cartel burning buildings, burning the airports, burning gas stations down. They are upset about the alleged killing of El Mencho. Is it real? I believe so. I believe, man, there's a lot of people that are rejoicing his death, but doing it quietly because they know the repercussions for that action. And then there was a lot of people that are upset about it. You know, a lot of these cartels, of course, we know when you talk about the cartel and it's quietly spoken, right, that there's a lot of bad that comes behind it. But there's also a lot of these guys that are looked at as heroes or revered because they live in these villages way in the middle of nowhere, and they look out for that community, and they are very well respected within that community. And there's a lot of people who would not be able to eat and feed their families that are so loyal and dedicated to these individuals, because even though the money is coming from a bad place, even though there's a lot of death and betrayal and smut behind that money, this is their livelihood. This is what they do as a job to work to take care of their families. So they are very much loyal. And having seen exactly how serious it is, they are loyal to people like Mencho and Chapo and these other guys. And it becomes a point where, you know, they're willing to defend with everything they have, including their life. So it's a situation that's very serious in Mexico right now. You wake up in the morning and you get to drink your coffee and go to work and take your kids to school and live your life. But in Mexico right now, man, all the way from TJ to Jalisco, puro Jalisco way, all the way to Jalisco and TJ, you have people growing up, waking up with smoke in their house, you know, and things continue to burn. And the government cannot control this situation. And this is how powerful one man's program was to have the whole country of Mexico on fire. You know, it kind of seems like maybe they should have left him alone or not. But I understand it's going to save a lot of people's lives, but nothing stops. And these groups, these organizations, these gangs, nothing ever stops. One person will die and another person will just step up. It's how it usually goes, man. You know that old saying, we'll cut the head off the snake and the body will wither? Not when the snake has a lot of different heads. Anyways, let me know what you guys think, man. Do you think El Mencho really is gone? There's a lot of people out there saying, oh, he's not gone, man. This is a setup. The United States is involved. I always want to blame the United States. Always a conspiracy theory. I don't think they'd be burning down all of Mexico if this guy was not killed. Let me know what you guys think. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. Now, don't think that this channel is going to be cartel after cartel video. No, I think that this is very relevant to what's going on right now in this world, and just shows that everywhere in this world right now, there's drama going on. And this one right here is different. This video is sponsored by Vario Liquors out there in Turlock, California. If you're ever in the Turlock area, make sure you pull up to the Vario and go show some support to Vario Liquors. Also, Sticks and Stones Yard Service out there in AZ. Let's support our local small businesses, and let's support the brown people doing it, man. This is the gun. Bang, bang.